Assalamualaikum and good day. My name is Nursyahidatul binti Yusof. In this video, I'm going to talk about my project Sarjana Muda 2, which is PSM 2, with the title of Skill-Based Virtual Reality Training for Working at Height WAH module. I'm under the supervision of Dr. Norhaida binti Suaib. So for this video, there are 6 components that I'm going to talk about, which is the introduction. And introduction, I will talk about problem background, aim, and objective, and also scope. And then the literature review, where I will talk about the virtuality, comparison of the Oculus product, and also the overview of working at module. Next, I will talk about the system development methodology, which consists of hardware and software requirement, my project workflow, user interaction, and also gamification involved. On the 4th, I will talk about the implementation consists of workspace setting, development process, and also the database integration. On the 5th, I will talk about the testing and evaluation, cover of the usability testing, pre-testing result, and post-testing result. Last but not least, I will talk about the conclusion, which is the conclusion of the overall simulation, and also limitation and future planning. So I will proceed with the introduction. The problem background. Working at height, actually a work-related accident causes approximately 4,700 to 5,000 incidents, with 25% of cases in resulting of the fatal from great height. Working at height leads to severe injuries and fatalities due to its unsafe working condition and also inadequate training. Typically, training required for working at height involves specialist personnel and also the expensive setup, which often cause the trainees to experience heightened stress level. So the aim for this project is to develop a skill-based virtual reality training for working at height module. It's covered 3 objectives, which is the first one is to design the VR-based simulation on working at height environment and also content. It also wanted to integrate with the user interaction with head-mounted display and also controller. And next, it want to evaluate user based on working at height virtual training simulation. Next, for the scope is the application is limited to 1 user at a time only, and the simulation also involve the Oculus Quest 2 and also the touch controller to interact with the virtual reality environment. And then it also involve the educational domain for competency training program, and it's also for the immersive virtual reality. Next, I will talk about the literature review. So virtual reality fundamental actually consists of 5 elements, which is the participants, the creator, the virtual world, immersion, and also interactivity. While for the VR classification, it consists of 3, which is fully immersive, semi-immersive, and also non-immersive. And then for the interactivity, it actually consists of hand tracking, handheld controller, gesture recognition, haptic feedback, collision detection, and also physics simulation. Lastly, for the training simulation, it's actually proven that VR technology for training in a physical environment can give a feasibility alternative, while it actually can replicate the real risky situation, and VR can provide visual representations of an environment. Next is the comparison of the Oculus. So in here, there are 2 types of Oculus that we are going to compare, which is Quest 2 and Rift. Quest 2 does not require a PC optional, where the application can build in through the Quest 2 itself, through the where we can build the application itself, and while Rift require the PC. And then both are 6 degrees of freedoms. The Quest 2 and Rift also have a touch controller, but Quest 2 is wireless, while the Rift is not a wireless. And then the overview of working at height module. The module for working at height is based on the guideline from the Standard Industri Pembinaan CIS 15 2019. There are 3 types of module used, which is the safety working knowledge, where it falls under the managing risk to prevent fall, and this section specifically focus on identifying fall hazard. And then the next one is the safety knowledge PPE. It's also fall under the same managing risk to prevent fall, and this section is specifically to address the safety knowledge to the personal protective equipment, which is PPE. Last but not least is the safety climbing, where the module falls under the working at height section, and it's specifically for the ladder bracket scaffold procedural climbing. So bear in the mind that the enrichment of the module was based on the guideline that I just mentioned. Next is the system development methodology, where the hardware and software requirement for this simulation is shown, where it requires Intel Core i5 Oculus Quest 2, Oculus Quest Touch Controller, And then the software is Unity 3D, Blender, and also use the SR Interaction Toolkit SDK. This is for the VR. This is the project workflow where trainee will start the simulation. It will go to the main menu where it need to choose either want to attempt a module 1, module 2 or module 3. Module 2 and module 3 is actually combined, and this all in the two types of zone, which is zone quiz or zone training. So in the module 1, it will display question and expectation, and then module 2 choose the working at height PPE, and then if correct it will proceed to module 3 which is using Y linear to climbing and decide the placement of one layer to get the score. Somehow that's how the simulation flow. So the user interaction involved in this project is hand interaction, which allow user to interact with the grabbable objects. You also have the grab interactable to make the object grabbable. Also have the socket interactable to place and attach the object to a specific point. And have also the UI interactor, which to allow the user to interact with the Unity UI element. So the gamification involved have 4, which is a point where user can earn point when they demonstrate the desired behavior, and they have a badges and achievement for the user that can earn virtual badges and also achievement review, and also have the feedback to give the user the regular feedback of user performance. And last but not least is the randomized element where the question given to the user is randomized and not in order. Next is the implementation, where this is the workspace setting. User is currently wearing the Oculus Quest 2 and also Oculus Touch Controller, and this simulation use the room scale where it's allow user to walk and move around the predefined area only. This is the development process of the VR training simulation, where phase 1 is where we study the module and then analysis the requirement for VR reality simulation and identify the toolkits and software we use. And in the phase 2, after identify everything, I'm going to design the 3D content VR, enabling VR platform and setting the VR interaction element and tracking system. This is where the module 1 artistic increment, where assets and prefab are all created and build the scene. And the module 2 enabling VR to the platform, which is SR Interaction Toolkit. They are used in this project, and also installing building for Oculus Quest 2. And last but not least is implement all the interactivity and tracking system. And then phase 2 is combine all these module for becoming one working at height module simulation. And phase 4 is the evaluation. So this is the content that include in the working at height training simulation. We have safety working knowledge, safety working PPE, and safety climbing. The purpose for both are shown, which is identify safety hazard, identify correct PPE, and simulation climbing with Y linear. And the development process for quiz zone, user are tasked with locating the clearing defined hazard presenting in the site. Interaction mechanism is the rate interaction. The quiz zone is for the safety working knowledge. And then the training zone, where user required to select the correct and personal protective equipment. Interactive mechanism is teleportation and grab interaction. This is for the safety knowledge PPE. And then last but not least is also in the training zone, user are instructed to attach a layer to their body and climb the ladder. The interactive mechanism is socket interacted. This is for the safety climbing. So this is the model design for development process, which is the PPE, teleportation area, and also the hazard are included. And also we have a harness layer, which is created by using the Blender. This is the environment design. This is the final result for the main menu, which consists of 2 zones, which is quiz zone and training. The quiz zone consists of the module safety working knowledge, while the training zone consists of module safety knowledge PPE and also safety climbing. And this is the safety working knowledge quiz zone, which firstly the first picture is where user need to identify the hazard and then answer the quiz based on the hazard or activity they just done just now, and also the feedback for their performance. And so this is the safety knowledge PPE in the training zone, where user need to select the correct PPE, and then they will see the feedback based on what they have selected. And then this is a safety climbing training zone, where user need to climb using the correct safety procedure, and after climbing they will see their score and feedback based on their climbing. So the evaluation, the usability testing were starting meet the participants and then brief about the simulation, and the participant will begin with the simulation, ask participants to proceed with module 1 Zoom quiz and also module 2 Zoom training, and last but not least it will ask the participant to answer the questionnaire on the Google form after complete the application, and that will end. So pre-testing result, currently there are 8 participants with 5 female and 3, age rate is 21 to 25, and their profession is the engineering student, so they have like knowledge on the working at height modules, and then they are familiarity with the VR and also answering no, maybe and yes is all the left, and then they are familiarity with the working at height, which is 5 participant is well acquainted, 1 just answering maybe, and there is no for answering for the question no. And then the study is aimed to assist whether participants familiar with the VR and also working at height module, and they will influence their performance during simulation, evaluation, the impact this factor and overall performance. Next is the post-test result, where user interface mostly answer is excellent and good, indicating that it is easy to use. And then some participants asked there might be a glitch or delay in the VR simulation. Next is the computer science elements such as physics and also spatial audio are included in the simulation, and the participant expressed a strong preference for using VR in learning process. They find it more interesting and believe it can enhance the traditional learning. And their feedback highlight the importance of good Wi-Fi connection for optimal performance and suggest for adding more animation to object for increased realism. And last but not least, the conclusion. So the limitation of this simulation is the cost implicit of using high quality assets to have a more realism simulation, and this project was compromised to some extent. So there is a need of course if wanted to have more virtual environment that are given the realism to the participant. And next is the first time user often struggle to integrate and navigate. Next is the future work, which is creating some assets using software like Blender could significantly improve the realism of the environment. And then to provide better instruction and demonstration to first time user and facilitate their understanding and engagement with the simulation, because first time user tend to find it difficult to control the Oculus, to play with the Oculus. So in conclusion, all the project goal was successfully accomplished, and the outcome of usability testing, the VR simulation, is helped to add to the learning of working at height module. That's all from my presentation of the skill-based virtual reality training for working at height module. Thank you.